Thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Kashif Ahmed. It's 2 p.m. Just some housekeeping items. We are obviously on Zoom, and so as many of you have done virtual programs in the past, there's always some funny IT issues that happen where some people are talking and it's muted, or some people want to be muted and there's noise in the background. So we actually have an IT team. We'll keep everyone muted. And then when I call your name, you yourself can unmute yourself when it's time for you to speak. And then if by accident you forget to mute yourself again, we have an IT team that will do that for you. So we'll make sure everything runs smoothly. If there are any hiccups, we apologize for that to start with. We have one more guest that we're waiting for. We'll just have a maximum 5-minute delay. And then once that last guest arrives, then we'll get started. If they don't, we'll just get started anyhow, because their speaking time is a little bit later in the program, if you're okay with that. Welcome, Mayor Holder. Thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll just give you an update on some of the housekeeping items I told the rest of the guests. So we're actually going to have everyone muted until I call your name to speak. So we have a few speakers today. And then if you forget to mute yourself, we have an IT team that will mute you for you if anything happens by accident, okay?
I'm married. I'm used to being muted.
So am I know the feeling. All right, so we'll get started now. Welcome everyone. My name is Kashif and I will be the host for today's Remembrance Day program. I serve as the Public Relations Officer of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat London chapter. This year's program was organized by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Elders Association. It will run from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. and I kindly ask our speakers, as I mentioned, to keep yourself muted until I call your name. As per Islamic tradition, before we proceed, we will begin our program with a recitation of the Holy Quran. I now invite Mr. Rafi Zindaki to recite a few selected verses.
Assalamu alaikum. Nice to be with you all. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله يأمركم أن تؤدوا الأمانات إلى أهلها وإذا حكمتم بين الناس أن تحكموا بالعدل إن الله نعم يعظكم به إن الله كان سميعا بصيرا يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا جزاكم الله.
Thank you, Mr. Zindaki. I now invite Mr. Maghfoor Ahmed to recite the English translation of the preceding verses.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Dear honorable guests and respected friends, on behalf of Ahmadiyya Muslim Elders Association, I welcome you all. Now I am presenting English translation from Holy Quran, chapter 4, verses 59 and 60. I seek refuge in Allah from Satan, the rejected. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the ever merciful. Verily Allah commands you to make over the trust to those entitled to them, and that when you judge between men, you judge with justice, and surely excellent is that with which Allah admonishes you. Allah is all hearing, all saying. O ye who believe, obey Allah and obey his messengers, and those who are in the authority among you. And if you differ in anything among yourselves, refer it to Allah and his messengers. If you are believers in Allah and the last day, that is the best and the most commendable in the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Today we gather together for our local chapter's first Remembrance Day program. Though Muslims for Remembrance Day is now in its 10th year, starting in the GTA. This year, over 20 cities from across Canada are participating. We hope that next year, all of us will be able to gather at our mosque on Beaverbrook Avenue. Muslims for Remembrance Day is a program that aims to honor the sacrifices made by those who helped shape this country we call home. Most of the members of our community are immigrants who have come to Canada to escape religious persecution. Recognizing those who gave their lives so we can practice our religion freely is of the utmost importance. The program also encourages members to take the time to donate to the Poppy campaign and to raise funds for their local legions. As you all know, the Remembrance Day ceremony has played a major role in remembrance since 1931. Every year, at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we gather in memorial parks, community halls, workplaces, schools, and homes to stand in honor of all who have fallen. Together, we observe a moment of silence to mark the sacrifice of the many who have fallen in the service of their country, and to acknowledge the courage of those who still serve. I would like to end my introduction with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Le'apawuk, and Ad Awandaran peoples whose traditional lands we are gathered upon today. Today is also National Aboriginal Veterans Day. We pay tribute to the more than 12,000 First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples who have served our country bravely and with dedication so that all Canadians might know peace and inherit freedom. We will now play the national anthem, and we will stand for that. Thank you. We will now play the poem In Flanders Field.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you. The last post will now be played, followed by 2 minutes of silence. Please join me now for 2 minutes of silence. Thank you. Our first speaker was scheduled to be Joanne Shields from Royal Canadian Legion Branch 501. She had planned to recite acts of remembrance, but as she is unwell today, I will do so on her behalf. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. I now invite Wayne McGregor from Royal Canadian Legion Branch 533 to share his remarks.
I'd like to thank Mr. Magfour Ahmed for inviting me to your ceremony. This is an important time of the year for me as I served in the Canadian Forces Reserve with London's 1st Hussars Armoured Regiment. If you are familiar with Victoria Park, there's a Sherman tank at the north end of the park. That is my regiment's tank. The Holy Roller landed on D-Day, 6th of June, and fought and survived until the end of World War II, one of only 2 tanks in the Canadian Army to do so. The 1st Hussars suffered the loss of 21 soldiers on D-Day, and in the following week of fighting, the regiment lost an additional 45 members. By the end of the war, the regiment's losses had climbed to 193 fatalities and had participated in 20 significant battles. After the Second World War, the 1st Hussars reverted back to a Reserve Forces regiment, but this did not stop the regiment from serving Canada all over the world. The regiment has contributed troops to many UN missions, including Afghanistan. It is important that we pass on these memories to the next generation. There are very few veterans from World War II that are left with us, and those still with us are over 95 years of age. Even our veterans from the Korean War are in their late 70s and early 80s. Somebody must carry that torch. Other countries do a much better job of ensuring that next generations keep the memories alive. Last summer, I had the privilege of assisting the hosting of 35 young people from Caen, Normandy area of France. They were a group called the Westlake Brothers Souvenir and made up of high school students. In Normandy, they conduct remembrance ceremonies and help tend the graves in the Canadian and Allied war cemeteries. They spent 28 days in Canada visiting Canadian regiments that landed on D-Day. At each regiment, they read the names of those killed during the war from that unit. At the Holy Roller, they read all of the names of our 193 losses. Then at Prevost, they read the names of over 5,000 merchant seamen lost during the war. By the time they had to visit every unit, they had read the names of over 80,000 Canadian casualties from World War II. This is the type of dedication we need to instill in our next generation. Next to supporting veterans and their families, promoting remembrance of the sacrifice of previous generations is a major objective of the Canadian Legion. I urge all schools and institutions to take advantage of the learning resources supplied by the Legion and the Veterans Affairs Department of the Canadian government. Again, thank you for the opportunity of speaking at your virtual ceremony.
Thank you, Mr. McGregor. Our next speaker is Mr. Musawwar Bajwa. Imam Bajwa is our missionary in London. His topic is the Ahmadiyya Muslim community's contributions to the service of humanity and peace.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I would take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining us today. We are Muslims who believe in the promised Messiah, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani. Our motto is love for all, hated for none. Being an Ahmadi Muslim, love for our country is the part of our faith. Islam also teaches us to pay the rights of human beings and especially take care of the orphans, needy, and poor. In fulfilling our duties towards humanity and our nation, Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat has an organization named Humanity First. Humanity First worldwide worked under the guidance of our beloved Imam, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, worldwide head of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat. Humanity First worldwide has done different humanitarian projects like refugee resettlement, global health, water for life, food security, knowledge for life, disaster response, community care, gift of sight, orphan care. Our organization is also recognized and praised by United Nations High Commission for Refugees and World Health Organization. We are also working on model villages in Africa, by which we will provide them the basic necessities for life and electricity for children to read. We have been doing nationwide campaigns such as Muslim for Remembrance Day and different charity runs to help different hospitals such as Derwinski Hospital in Hamilton and Building the One Hospital. These are to name just a few. In London, we held our first virtual run for London and gave $6,000 to Children's Hospital. We also hold food drives to help the local food banks. We have collected 206 pounds of food, $2,450. All of it went to the London Food Bank. One of our members has been providing the Salvation Army with cooked food every week for a month to feed 70 people. And now our elder organization of London chapter have started to do it twice a week, feeding over 140 people. When the pandemic hit Canada, we supported our doctors and nurses by spreading the awareness in our community, and also started the health campaign named Neighborhood Help, by which we provided the vulnerables with groceries and PPEs. Our beloved Imam, His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, the head of the worldwide Ahmadiyya Muslim community, wrote letters to the world leaders in which he warns them of the fast approaching dangers and how they can avert disaster and chart a course to peace. He also gave lectures in different parliaments and told them the path to peace. A book has been compiled on all his keen addresses and letters on this topic, named World Crisis and the Pathway to Peace. Similarly, an annual peace symposium is held every year, and peace award is given to those who work for it. I would now conclude my speech on the prayer that may Allah keep all of us safe and healthy. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Imam Bajwa. I will now invite our guest speakers to share their remarks. Our first guest was sworn in as London's 64th mayor on December 1st, 2018. Prior to being elected to City Council, he served as Member of Parliament for London West from 2008 to 2015 and Federal Minister of Science and Technology from 2014 to 2015. Mayor Ed Holder is a longtime friend of the community and actually attended one of our first events back when he was an MP, and we welcome him again. Please welcome Mayor Ed Holder.
Assalamu alaikum. And may I say, may the blessings of God be on all of you. You know, I was thinking much about today, and what struck me most about this remembrance ceremony is that the Ahmadiyya Muslim Elders Association has organized this. And to all the members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, may I just say what an honor it is for me, as I know it would be for all of us assembled today, to participate. And you're quite correct, Kashif. It was now the most recent visit to the Baitul Abad Mosque was a year ago Canada Day, and those were different times. And now we deal with COVID, and today our Zoom call is indicative of what we all must deal with. But what's most important, and what you're acknowledging, is that we remember. I was presented with the first poppy of the city just this past week by the zone commander. And at that time, I encouraged all of London, to buy a poppy and wear a poppy and remember. And it takes me back when I hear in Flanders Fields, and I think of my own family. You know, my father served in World War II in the New Brunswick Rangers in the Army from 1939, excuse me, to the end of the war. His brother joined with him. Their dog tags are one number apart. Another uncle joined the Merchant Navy. Two came home. And my uncle, my father's brother, is buried in Belgium. And I had never such an honor as to being the first member of my family to visit several years ago in Belgium to Arnhem, where there were 800 souls in that cemetery, and all lost in the war. 700 of those 800 were Canadian. And I think with kind of a wry, ironic smile that my uncle was the only New Brunswick Ranger in that cemetery. But more important were the ways that, as Wayne has pointed out, that those cemeteries were pristine and that they were maintained by the families who were so grateful for Canadians and what our Canadian soldiers did to help liberate that country. And as I share that with you, I also tell you that from my family, this service speaks so much to how we as Londoners come together at a particularly special time. And it should never just be this remembrance time. It should be every day that we give thanks for the quality of life and the things we enjoy as Canadians. It's because of them, from World War I, World War II, Korea, our United Nations forces, Afghanistan, where they have served in theaters of conflict around the world to matter and make a difference. And that's why when the comment was made about our youth a few moments ago, my message to them is, it is you who carried the torch. It is you who will be able to remember them as we who are older will pass on. And you will pass that on to your generation and to generations that follow you. This is our opportunity to remember, and in particular, the fact that the Ahmadiyya Muslim Elders Association has made this effort to reach out to have their first remembrance service. I'm so honored on behalf of London City Council and all of London to participate. I know I'm joined by a number of members of senior levels of government, and I'm honored to stand with them shoulder to shoulder as I stand with you as a community to say thank you and to say we will remember them. Shukran.
Thank you very much, Mayor Holder, for sharing those personal thoughts. Actually, my own grandfather, he was a physician in India, and he also served in World War II with the British. So a lot of us have a lot of family connections to what happened during those years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next guest has represented the riding of London West in the House of Commons since 2015, best known as the first female news anchor at CFPL TV in London. Kate was appointed Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Economic Development and Official Languages by Prime Minister Trudeau in December 2019. Kate will be sharing her own remarks along with remarks from the Prime Minister of Canada. Please welcome Member of Parliament, Kate Young.
Salam alaikum. Thank you so much for inviting me to this special Remembrance Day service. I remember, as our mayor did, going to the mosque on Canada Day, not this past year, the year before, and yes, a lot has changed since then. I'd like to start my remarks by reading the letter from the Prime Minister. Dear friends, I am pleased to extend my warmest greetings to everyone participating in the 10th Annual Muslims for Remembrance campaign. First launched in 2011, this nationwide campaign is dedicated to showing support for the brave Canadians in uniform who have served our country throughout history. Funds raised this year will go to Royal Canadian Legion branches across Canada, and I would like to thank everyone taking part for their generous contributions. It has been a challenging year so far. The COVID-19 pandemic has made planning events like this especially difficult. That is why I would like to thank the dedicated organizers for their efforts. You can take pride in your commitment to honoring our veterans and current service members and to ensuring that their contributions and sacrifices will never be forgotten. Please accept my best wishes for every success in meeting your fundraising goals. Sincerely, the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. Remembering and reflecting on our past is an important way for us to learn how our community and our country came to this moment. To truly understand it, though, we can't just think of famous dates and names, but must make ourselves conscious of the millions of individual stories of ordinary people from all backgrounds who make up that mosaic. Towering over northern France, the Vimy Ridge Memorial has stood for 84 years. And I was lucky enough to visit the memorial a number of years ago, and it is truly breathtaking. Etched along its base are the names of over 11,000 men who fought for Canada in what we now call the First World War, who paid the ultimate of sacrifices and whose bodies were never recovered. One of those names, Private H. Amat, belongs to one of the 22 Muslims we know of who fought for Canada in the First World War. Private Amat was honored in London several years ago because, while he was originally from Singapore, he shipped out to Europe as part of the 1st Canadian Infantry Battalion from London. Growing up, we didn't learn about the men like Private Amat or of Private James Grant of St. Catharines, the first African Canadian to earn the military medal in that conflict. We didn't learn about the Canadians who were barred from enlistment because of the color of their skin or the country their ancestors came from. We also didn't learn about Francis Pegamegabau, one of the thousands of Indigenous Canadians who enlisted to fight for Canada. Individuals like these joined to fight for a country that openly discriminated against them. Indigenous veterans would return home, changed forever by their experiences, and still be denied the rights granted other Canadians. For far too long, the contributions of Canadians who found themselves on the margins, either because of their race, religion, language, country of origin, sex, or sexuality, have had their stories overlooked. Yet time and time again, they were ready and willing to serve their country and their communities regardless. While we cannot correct the mistakes of the past, we can work towards building a better future for all, the future that they dreamed of. Events like this one gives Canadians of all backgrounds a chance to remember. Only when looked at together do they make up the whole and help us understand why we are here, where we have come from, and where we must go. We must ensure that the dream of a better tomorrow, held by all of us, including those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, is one day fulfilled so that their sacrifice was not in vain. It is truly a privilege to join the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in London for this commemoration. Thank you so much for including me.
Thank you very much, Kate. Our next guest is the Member of Provincial Parliament for London North Centre, elected in 2018. Terence is passionate about social justice, healthcare, housing, and education. Before politics, he was an elementary school teacher librarian, focusing on critical literacy, digital citizenship, media literacy, and social justice. Please welcome MPP Terence Kernahan.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. It's an honor for me to join with you today. And it's important that we recognize the sacrifice of those who came before us. I'd also like to thank the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community Elders Association of London for raising funds for veterans in need. I think of my family story, my grandfather, who at the age of 15 left to serve his country. You see pictures and he's clearly not an 18-year-old, all knees and all elbows, but my family is lucky. We were lucky that he was able to return home. There's so many from Canada who left to fight, sacrificed, and who died. We also think of the families whose loved ones would never come home. In so many different places in London, we see the names inscribed of the young men who made the ultimate sacrifice. This year, as we confront the reality of COVID-19, we also think of the end of World War I, where the world battled the Spanish flu. It puts things into a very sharp perspective once again. And that's why I congratulate the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community Elders Association for raising funds for the Poppy campaign. It's important that we support our legions and the great work that they do. We know that people aren't out spending as much money as they may be normally. The Poppy campaign is different this year. I encourage everyone to either donate to their local legion or become a member in order to make sure that their vital work continues. We gather today to also recognize all those who have gone before us. Times of conflict truly reinforce the importance of peace, a peace that we now enjoy. May we never forget the brave soldiers who fought for the peace we enjoy today. Our future depends upon our shared past. Again, thank you very much to the Ahmadiyya Muslim Elders Association for inviting me today. We will remember them.
Thank you very much, Terence. Our next guest will share her remarks with a video message. Karen has represented the riding of Elgin Middlesex London in the House of Commons since 2015. She currently serves as the Shadow Minister for Women and Gender Equality and as chair of the Standing Committee on the Status of Women. She previously served as the Shadow Minister for Families, Children and Social Development. We will now play a recorded message by MP Karen Vecchio.
Hi, I'm Karen Vecchio, Member of Parliament for Elgin Middlesex London. 2020 has been a strange year for all of us. Our normal routines have been interrupted and many are starting to feel isolated. These feelings of isolation give us even more of a reason to take special note this Remembrance Day to recognize those who have served in the Canadian Armed Forces and honor the heroes who have died in the name of freedom and justice. Remembrance Day is also a time where we stand shoulder to shoulder with our veterans, hear their stories, and demonstrate deep gratitude for those who fought in World War II, the Korean War, the war in Afghanistan, and served in other conflict zones across the world. This year, we also take special note of the 75th anniversary of the Battle of the Atlantic. Although I'm not able to participate in this event, I want to thank all of those who have worked to help our community pay honor and respect to our veterans this year. We will remember them.
Thank you, Karen. I'll now hand over the program to our regional president, Dr. Aleem Khan, for the closing remarks. Dr. Khan has served as president of the Windsor chapter and is a practicing psychiatrist. Please welcome Dr. Aleem Khan.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon all of you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the gracious, the merciful. Ahmadiyya Muslim Elder Association of London chapter, they are observing their first Muslim for Remembrance Day program. Members all across the Canada of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, they take pride in organizing such ceremonies for the last 10 years. And I'm glad and I'm happy that I am part of this first program initiated by Ahmadiyya Muslim Elder Association of London chapter. This day, we remember our soldier who fought for us, who fought for homeland, so we could live in peace and freedom. This day, we remember our brave men and women who eagerly signed up for our country, and it is motivated by their patriotism, their tradition, values, and a strong belief that their sacrifice, their services will make this world a better place to live in. We remember those brave soldiers who left to the frontier to defend our country. Many of them never came back. Many of them came back wounded, traumatized, both physically and emotionally. They are the ones who brought honor to themselves, to their families, and to this country, beautiful country, Canada. Islam teaches us patriotism. The saying of the Holy Prophet of Islam, peace be upon him, is Hubbul Watni min al Iman. That is, love of your homeland is part of your faith. This guidance teaches us that we need to be a loyal servant of our country. These teachings also instruct us to be faithful. We have to be serving our nation, our country, to have a complete faith. We pay homage to our veterans who fought to preserve our liberty, our values, our tradition, and the freedom we enjoy today. This day of remembrance should also be a day of reflection. We should think about we as a person, what we have contributed to our country. And as I said before, to have a full faith, we have to be a loyal servant of our country. This should be an annual reminder of ourselves to be ready, ever ready to serve our country. And we should also, as Ahmadiyya Muslim Elder Association, we should also exhort our children to serve the country as their best potential and don't hesitate to sacrifice the ultimate sacrifice, even their life. May God enable us to do that. At this time, I will take some time to offer my vote of thanks. First of all, I thank the God the Almighty, the Gracious, whose bounties are countless, whose mercy is limitless. He is the one who has given us this opportunity to have this program. Then I will thank our invited guests. I thank our MPPs, Mayor, our friends from the world, Canadian region. Thank you for taking time off from your busy schedule and encouraging us with your comments. At this time, I would also like to thank Ahmadiyya Muslim Elder Association of London Chapter. The organizers, their volunteers, they worked hard to make this program reality. I would also like to thank them that they were not only busy organizing this program, but they were also out there collecting donations for our Canadian region. And I'm glad to share that so far they have collected $15,000, and this money will be donated to Royal Canadian Legion in a couple of days by a local management. I would also like to thank all the participants who are here today to be a part of this program to make it success. At the end, As a tradition of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, we start our program with recitation of the Holy Quran, and we conclude our program with silent prayer. Now we will offer silent prayer. As a Muslim tradition, I will raise my hand for prayers, and I will request all our guests to join us according to their tradition or the way they feel comfortable with. Please join me in silent prayer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Khan. I just wanted to clarify a point that the Ahmadiyya Muslim Elders Association here in London has raised currently $1,500, and hopefully more donations will come through. Thank you all again for joining our first ever program. We hope to do this annually, and hopefully as things settle down, we will be able to join together at our mosque. We were honored, truly honored to have our guests join us today. You are truly friends of our community. You have always supported us. And we thank you again for supporting our program here today. I wish you all the best and stay safe. As an emergency physician, I hope all of you stay away from any illness. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.